In this video, I'm going to show you a few basic tips and tricks that's going to make it so much easier for you to create lines using your airbrush. Let's get into it right now. It's going to use some indigo blue for these tests. It's going to do some regular lines, so keeping the air press down and pull back for paint. Now, a couple of tips. First and foremost, make sure your air is pressed down at all times and you're just pulling back on that trigger and then shutting it back off when you're finished with your line. So basically you should have air on, move in off the side of your page, paint on, paint off, paint on, paint off. What you don't want to do is sit there, wait, and then move, and then wait, because you're going to get these heavier spots at the ends, which is not what we want. Air on, paint on, paint off. So now that you understand that basic principle, as a line covers three main factors: height, so the distance that you are from the surface, your speed, how fast you're traveling, and your paint flow, so how far you're pulling back on that trigger finger. They're the three main factors that will all determine your line. You need to keep them all consistent when you are spraying. And you can see what happens when you alter those three methods. So let's say I'm going slow, building up my paint, and then I'm trying to move slowly through here. You can see that there's more chance of it bouncing, right? Because I'm not keeping a consistent speed. So what you want to do is you always want to move at the same speed and keep it nice and consistent. You can see, to steady myself, I'm actually using my hand to rest on the surface. This gives me a consistent guide of how far away I am as I'm moving across the page. And you can also, if you want to do a thicker line, for example, you can use your finger like that and use that as a guide. For a finer one, rest on it and then paint on, paint off. All right. Okay, so doing straight lines is relatively easy when you get the feel for it. But let's say you want to follow a line. So let's just draw on the surface like so. You can see I've got a nice curve happening. We'll go a bit straighter and then down. So what things am I going to have to do to be able to follow that line nice and neat and accurate, keep my height, my consistency, and my paint flow all the same? So it's pretty much the same sort of thing as before, where you steady yourself, move in off the stroke, and then follow like so. You can give it a go now. If you have your airbrush in hand, just keep the air on and just pretend, just to get the feel for it. Now, one thing that I am doing, and this is probably the key thing. Okay, so let's say I want to follow along with this line now. So moving in this direction. Even though my airbrush is sitting there, I'm not looking at this point and I'm not looking at the front of the airbrush. What I'm actually doing is when I'm moving along, my eye is around about here. So I'm actually looking ahead of my line, and that is the crucial part in getting your line to follow any particular outline or whatever it is that you're working on. Always look ahead. So if you're focused on this section only, what happens is you're not looking ahead. So then it's easy for you to sort of work your way off that line, and then you kind of have to fix it up as you move on. So whenever you're airbrushing a line, get your height and your consistency the same by using your hand as a guide, and move consistently with it. So your speed and obviously the paint flow, you want to make sure that you only pull back a little bit on the trigger. If you need to, you can use an adjustment like this one here and wind it in, and then that's going to stop your trigger short like this. You can see I can't pull back any further. If I wind it in more, again, it's less paint coming out. So you can use that when you're starting out, that little dial. If it doesn't have it on your airbrush, then you're just going to have to do it using your double action skills. But always remember, you need to look ahead of the line. So you want to be looking about here when you're that far away. So just, and then move with it. Okay, let's go ahead now and follow this line. Alright, so just giving you a closer look of how it went. You can see I missed the line there a little bit, pretty much onto it, then missed it again. So not 100%, a little bit of a miss there. Pretty good through this section, little bit of a miss, little bit of a miss, and then work my way around and finished off reasonably well. Another little bit of a misstep there, but I'd rather show you so you can see that you don't necessarily have to be perfect. Just keep practicing this technique. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw another random pattern. to follow. Now again, the more you do this, the better you're going to get. Keep it consistent. Try not to stop even if you stuff up an area. Like I showed you before, I still finished. Go ahead and just follow this one. Paint on. So there we go. A couple of missed spots, but that's why it's great to use a contrasting color pencil. You can exactly see where you've missed it. But just keep practicing this and you will improve. So now that you know how to airbrush better lines and you know it comes down to practice, I urge you to keep practicing these exercises to better improve your artwork. And to continue your learning, check out some of the other videos and playlists that I've got listed here. And until next time, go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.